Thank you. Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, I want to make sure I understood what you said a moment ago in response to the Chairman's questions. Surely you're not suggesting, are you, that there is no relationship, to use the verbiage of this chart, that there is no relationship between U.S. oil production and U.S. gasoline prices? Would you agree with that statement, that there is no relationship between U.S. oil production and U.S. gasoline prices?
What I said, Senator Lee, is that gas prices are set as a matter of the global marketplace in terms of oil.
As a result of the complex interaction between supply and demand and all the factors domestically and internationally that affect supply and demand?
Yes.
Okay. And U.S. oil production is one of those factors?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Secretary, your office recently issued a programmatic environmental impact statement dealing with oil shale production, basically, use of federal lands for oil shale production. This PEIS proposes to replace a previous PEIS issued by your department in 2008, I believe. The 2008 PEIS identified about 2 million acres of federal public land that could be potentially suitable for leasing for the development of oil shale and tar sands. Your new PEIS proposes to limit that amount by more than 75%, bringing it down to about 450,000 acres. Meanwhile, in 2007, the Bureau of Land Management issued several R&D leases for purposes of oil shale development. One of those R&D leases was in Utah. Can you assure me that your recent PEIS won't affect those previous leases that were issued in 2007? In other words, will those be taken off the map now as a result of this reduction?
You know, with respect to your specific question, let me get back to you with respect to the specific lease. With respect to your more general question on the oil shale potential in your state of Utah and Wyoming and my state of Colorado, the fact is that there's still a lot of research and development that needs to take place. Senator Domenici and I actually, when he was chairman of this committee, went to visit a couple of those places. There are huge unanswered questions in terms of water supply, unanswered questions in terms of technology. The companies themselves admit that they need to have answers to those questions. So my approach to oil shale and what is set forth in the PEIS is a conclusion that I have reached, that we ought not to engage in a wholesale giveaway of the public domain until we have some of these questions that are answered, but at the same time, moving forward in full support of the research and development programs that are underway both in my state as well as your state.
But you're aware, of course, Mr. Secretary, that this technology, or variations of it, has been in place in use in Europe for about 100 years, and has been used to produce oil, in some circumstances to produce oil to produce electricity. And is still in use to some extent in Europe. I believe they produce about 1 million barrels a year from oil shale in Europe currently. And they do all of this meeting European environmental standards. So, I mean, it has not been used extensively in this country on a commercial scale, but it has been in Europe. So is that really what we need? Is it, what, another 100 years? Of research? What is it that we're waiting for? What's the magic bullet?
Senator Lee, we're waiting for the technology to be developed to be able to honestly assess the potential here. The fact is, I think you were born by then, but you might remember the 1980s and what happened in Colorado and other places with the oil shale bust. That was after the investment of billions and billions of dollars because the technology wasn't there. And so the research and development that's taking place now with respect to the development of kerogen from these rocks, which is very different from shale gas and very different from shale oil, is something that is very important, and we're very supportive of moving forward with those research and development efforts to get the right answer.
And there was a bust in the 1980s, and of course we both know there were a lot of reasons for that. And a lot of those reasons have to do with kinks in the technology that have since been worked out, kinks in the technology that have been worked out in terms of the amount of processed water, the amount of input energy that's required, the carbon footprint, the physical footprint that's required for these retort systems. A lot of that has been worked out. But I do think it's important to remember, I don't think it's your job to mitigate and protect against all risk from the oil companies. In other words, if they want to make that investment, they are placing their own investment at risk. But should they not be given the opportunity to make the investment and to lease these federal public lands for that purpose, knowing that they could develop oil there? And an estimated 1.2 trillion barrels of proven recoverable oil locked up in oil shale in just a small segment of 3 western Rocky Mountain states, Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming alone. 1.2 trillion barrels, more than the combined petroleum reserves of the top 10 oil-producing countries of the world combined.
You know, Senator Lee, it's my job to protect the public lands and public resources of the United States as a custodian of America's natural resources. And when I look at the oil shale potential of your state, Wyoming and Colorado, I think there is potential there, but we need to move forward with answers to some very tough questions, including one of the key questions. You know, if it's going to take upwards of 1 million acre-feet of water to develop oil shale on the western slope of Colorado, where is that water supply going to come from? What's it going to do to agriculture? What's it going to do to municipalities? And those questions have not yet been answered. That's why the research and development efforts that are underway, which we are fully supportive of, are important. We will get answers to those questions. It's part of what we are undertaking right now.
Okay, I see my time has expired, but let me just close with the thought. This is one of the reasons why I hope you'll allow these research and development leases to move forward. This is one way that I think you really can get some of the answers that you're looking for. Allow those R&D leases to move forward. Don't cancel them. Let them do their thing, because they'll prove their ability to make this, to make it happen in an environmentally responsible and a commercially feasible way. Thank you.